Have you ever heard of places so breathtaking, so perfect in their natural beauty, yet hiding secrets that defy explanation? Places where hundreds of people have vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but questions. Today, I'm going to take you deep into one of the strangest and most chilling disappearances ever recorded inside Yosemite National Park. It's often called America's Paradise, a sanctuary of granite cliffs and roaring waterfalls. But for some, Yosemite is not a paradise at all. It is a land that swallows people whole. This story is not just about a disappearance. It's about the thin line between wonder and terror, between nature's beauty and nature's silence. And before we begin, make sure you subscribe and stay with me here on Mystery Unknown Files, where we uncover the hidden stories, the unsolved cases, and the mysteries the world cannot explain. Tucked away in the heart of California lies Yosemite National Park, one of America's most treasured landmarks. If you have ever visited, you know the feeling standing at the base of those towering granite cliffs, staring up at El Capitan or Half Dome. You feel small, humbled, almost reverent. The waterfalls cascade with a thunder that shakes your chest, and the endless forests stretch farther than the eye can see, a reminder of how wild and untamed nature once was and still is in certain corners of this country. Yosemite is not just a park. For millions of visitors every year, it is a pilgrimage into beauty itself. Families come to hike, photographers chase the perfect shot of the valley at sunrise, and entrepreneurs and professionals alike find themselves drawn here, seeking a pause from the chaos of their lives, a moment of clarity surrounded by timeless stone and sky. But behind that beauty lies a shadow, a truth few speak of when they plan their vacations. Yosemite, for all its glory, has long carried a haunting reputation. Beneath the surface of its postcard-perfect landscapes lies a disturbing mystery. People disappear here, and they have been disappearing for decades. Unofficial tallies suggest that hundreds have gone missing inside Yosemite's vast wilderness. Some of them were eventually found, but often in circumstances that left investigators baffled. Bodies have turned up in places already searched multiple times, sometimes in conditions that made no logical sense. Others have never been found at all, as though they simply stepped into the forest and vanished into thin air. For those who know the park's history, this darker side of Yosemite is as much a part of its identity as the granite cliffs or the famous waterfalls. To walk its trails is to marvel at nature's artistry, but also to sense that thin line between wonder and danger. Out here, in a landscape that feels eternal, humans are fragile, and control is an illusion. It is a place that invites both awe and unease, a place where beauty and mystery intertwine, and where, for reasons no one can fully explain, some stories never return from the wilderness. In the summer of 2017, a small family packed up their car and headed to Yosemite for what was supposed to be a simple weekend getaway. Like so many others, they came searching for a break from the grind of daily life. The father was eager to unplug. The mother was looking forward to fresh air and quiet trails. And their 4-year-old son, an energetic, adventurous teenager, was buzzing with excitement at the chance to roam free in the wilderness. He wasn't the type to sit still for long. He loved taking pictures, exploring new places, and proving to himself that he was old enough to handle independence, at least in small doses. That Saturday morning, the family set up camp near a small stream, one of those serene spots where the water runs clear and cold over smooth stones. The weather couldn't have been better: bright sun, blue skies, just the right amount of breeze moving through the pines. They grilled a simple lunch, laughed, and enjoyed the feeling of being tucked away in nature's embrace. After they finished eating, the boy grabbed his small camera and told his parents he was going to take a short walk, maybe snap a few photos before heading back. His father nodded. After all, they were only a few steps away from the forest's edge, and it seemed harmless enough. How much trouble could a teenager get into within shouting distance of the campsite? But when the father called out to him just a few minutes later, expecting the sound of rustling branches or a cheerful reply, the forest gave back only silence. At first, they assumed he had gone just a little farther down the trail, maybe chasing the perfect shot or climbing to get a better view. They called again. Nothing. Minutes stretched into an hour, and soon, panic began to ripple through what had started as a carefree day. The boy never returned. No sign of him appeared on the trail, no footsteps by the creek, no rustle in the brush to mark where he had gone. It was as if the forest had swallowed him whole, erasing every trace in the span of a heartbeat. What began as a light-hearted family trip turned, in the blink of an eye, into every parent's worst nightmare. The moment the parents realized their son wasn't coming back, panic set in. At first, they shouted his name into the trees, convinced he would come running back with a sheepish smile, maybe apologizing for wandering too far. But the silence that answered them grew heavier with each passing second. Within the hour, they had flagged down a ranger, and Yosemite's search and rescue protocol kicked in. What began with a handful of rangers soon turned into a massive operation. More than 200 people were involved: law enforcement, park rangers, seasoned search and rescue professionals, and volunteers who dropped everything to help. Helicopters hovered over the thick canopy, scanning the ground with high-powered cameras. Search dogs, trained to track even the faintest scent, swept through ravines, meadows, and dense groves. Teams formed human chains, combing through the brush one painstaking step at a time. For days, the search grew wider, more desperate. Every crevice was inspected, every stream traced downstream in the hope of spotting some clue. Families of other missing persons even reached out, sharing their own grief and urging the parents not to lose hope. The park became a hive of activity, but despite the sheer manpower, the wilderness seemed to resist giving up its secret. And then, just as morale was beginning to crack, one search team stumbled upon something deep in the woods. It was a single shoe, a small sneaker, unmistakably belonging to the boy. At first glance, the discovery felt like a breakthrough. Finally, a lead. But as investigators leaned closer, confusion swept through the group. The shoe was pristine. It wasn't caked in mud, torn by branches, or stained in any way. There was no blood, no scuff marks, no indication it had been through the rough terrain that surrounded it. It looked as if someone had carefully set it down, almost like an offering. The ground around it offered no footprints, no drag marks, no broken twigs, nothing. Just a shoe sitting neatly on the forest floor, as if placed there by invisible hands. That eerie detail sent a chill through everyone involved. If the boy had lost the shoe in a struggle, why wasn't there any damage? If he had taken it off himself, why only one? And why leave it in the middle of nowhere? Beyond that single inexplicable clue, there was nothing. No backpack, no clothing, no trace of a trail. The forest, vast and silent, had swallowed everything else whole. As the days turned into weeks, the search yielded nothing beyond that single immaculate shoe. With no progress, investigators and the public began reaching for explanations, some grounded in logic, others drifting into unsettling territory. The first theory was the most straightforward. Perhaps the boy had been attacked by a wild animal. Yosemite is home to black bears, mountain lions, and other predators capable of overpowering a teenager. It was the kind of explanation that fit neatly into nature's harsh realities. But when search teams retraced the area, they found no blood, no torn clothing, no drag marks leading into the underbrush. Predators don't leave clean scenes, they leave chaos. And this forest floor was silent, undisturbed, almost sterile. Another possibility was that he had slipped into one of Yosemite's treacherous ravines. The park is filled with sheer drop-offs and narrow crevices where a fall could prove fatal. Search and rescue crews rappelled into canyons, scanned waterways, and even deployed thermal imaging in the hope of spotting something. But nothing surfaced, not a body, not a trace of fabric, not even a hint that someone had passed through. It was as though the earth had swallowed him whole without leaving a scar. There were darker speculations. To the idea of an abduction. Could someone have taken the boy, hidden him away before vanishing themselves? The notion was horrifying, but not impossible. Yet Yosemite is a vast, isolated wilderness. There were no reports of strangers lurking around campsites that day, no suspicious vehicles, no footprints or tire tracks leading away from the area. An abduction would have required planning, opportunity, and luck bordering on impossible. And then, hovering at the edges of reason, came the theories that defied science altogether. Some whispered about the supernatural hidden doorways in the wilderness, portals that open and close without warning. To those who believe, Yosemite is not just a national park, but a place layered with ancient mysteries, a landscape that has swallowed hundreds of people over the decades. The shoe, left perfectly clean, became fuel for these beliefs. It felt deliberate, almost symbolic, as if placed to taunt the living with the reminder that something beyond understanding was at play. In the end, none of the theories fit cleanly. Each answered a question but left behind a dozen more. What remained was the chilling truth. A boy had walked into Yosemite's beauty on a sunny afternoon and vanished into its silence, leaving behind only a shoe and a mystery that still unsettles anyone who hears it. In the end, the search had to stop. After weeks of combing through the forests, scouring rivers, and scanning cliffsides from the air, there was nothing more to find. The boy's family, who had once arrived at Yosemite full of excitement for a weekend escape, left in silence, carrying with them a grief that never found resolution. Their son's file was quietly placed into the category no one ever wants to see: unexplained disappearance. It is a phrase that offers no comfort, no closure, just a hollow label for a story with no ending. But this was not the first time Yosemite had written such a chapter. And tragically, it would not be the last. The park, with its soaring granite walls and its waterfalls cascading in silver sheets, draws millions of people each year. To most, it is paradise. Yet hidden in that paradise are shadows, stories of men, women, and children who stepped into the wilderness and were never seen again. The boy's disappearance is just one among hundreds, a reminder that nature is not always a postcard. Sometimes, it is a mystery that swallows those who dare to walk too close to its edge. What lingers most is that single shoe, discovered deep in the forest, untouched by dirt or time. It sits in memory like a symbol too clean, too deliberate, as though it were left there by something unseen. For the family, it is the last connection to a child they loved. For investigators, it is the only clue in a case with no answers. And for the rest of us, it has become a haunting reminder of how little we understand about the world we move through. Even today, when hikers lace up their boots and families unpack their tents beneath Yosemite's star-filled skies, the boy's story hangs in the air. It whispers through the pines and flows in the streams, reminding everyone that this is not only a place of beauty, but also of silence, mystery, and loss. People come to Yosemite to feel alive, to stand before something larger than themselves. Yet some leave behind more than footprints. Some leave behind questions that echo forever. And somewhere in the vastness of Yosemite, a single shoe still tells a story no one has been able to finish.